Hello, this is RV Vagabond Jerry. And if you've been following me lately, you know that it's been a long trip getting from Texas to Louisiana. I took it slow. I was able to find a lot of things to see along the way, and I hope you've enjoyed that trip. Well, now I finally made it into New Orleans, and I'm going to be staying here in New Orleans the whole winter 21-22, December, January, February. And this is the first time in my whole RV life that I spent a whole season just in one city. But I'm not going to be staying in one RV park the whole 3 months, maybe for 1 month, but I'm going to be moving all around town to different locations as I go around to find new things to see, places to stay. However, in January, I am going to take 10 days off to do a cruise down the Caribbean in a big cruise ship to some islands off of Venezuela in South America. So that'll add some extra fun to my winter, and I will make videos at each one of the ports that I go to. And what I'm going to do in this video is just summarize all of my winter trips that I've done since I started traveling in my RV in 2016. So now let's go into my computer. I'll pull up the map, show you where I've been each of these winters, where I am this winter, and where I'm going to be going for the next 2 winters if things work out the way I have planned. So come on in and let's take a look. Now I'm going to show you on the map where I spent my winters. My first winter in 2016-17 I spent completely in San Diego, but that was because I was still working there in my CPA business. So summer of 2017 I retired, packed everything up, and I moved my residence to my home base here just south of San Antonio. Then in the late fall, I went west, spent some time here in Big Bend National Park, and then went up west to Arizona, western Arizona in the deserts here, and sometime in California, in the southern part here. And while I was in Southern California, I met up with a caravan group that goes down to Mexico every year. So me and this big caravan of RVs, we drove down about halfway down Baja California and then came back up. So that was my winter trip for 2017-18. And this is a list I've made of my winter trips and my summer trips. So here in 17-18, what I just showed you on the map, and then for the next winter, in late fall, I did a 2-week cruise, mainly to Spain and other places around there. I flew in and out of San Antonio to do that. Then when I got back from my cruise, I spent the rest of the time in South Texas and then driving over to Florida. Then the next winter, I went back to western Arizona and southern California, and from there, which was actually in Palm Springs, where I spent some time, I flew to Singapore to do a 30-day cruise around Southeast Asia. And right in the middle of that cruise was when the COVID pandemic started. So when I got back from my cruise, then I hightailed it back to Texas. Then for the next winter, 2021, I was starting out in the fall. I had done a trip to Kentucky and Tennessee and Georgia, and from there I went down to Florida. And this time in Florida I went all the way down to Key West, and then went back to Texas. Let me show you on the map here. From Key West, right about there, I drove up the west coast of Florida, along the Gulf Coast, and then down to the southern tip of Texas. And then for the second half of the winter, I drove up along the Rio Grande, all the way up to El Paso. So that was last year. Now this year, like I said, I'm spending the whole winter in New Orleans. Now, at this point, let me show you again on the map. I have now been pretty much everywhere RVs go in the winter to find places to stay where it doesn't get very cold. At least not during the day. So that comprises pretty much all of Florida. It does get kind of cold up here, but during the day it can be nice. So across the Gulf Coast to New Orleans, and then over down to Texas. This whole Gulf Coast area is pretty nice in the winter. Northern Florida can get kind of chilly around here, but down into Florida, central and south, it's pretty warm. In fact, I was in South Florida twice, 2 winters, and both times I found it to be too warm for me. About Tampa, across here, is kind of the borderline. South of there, it's really warm, and Central Florida is really nice in the winter. A lot of people like to stay in Texas for the winter, from way down south here up to about there. There's so many RV parks and places to boondock all along the Rio Grande coast here. Some people spend their winters in Texas along here every single year. Now West Texas has some fairly high elevations. It can get pretty cold in West Texas. So you want to go from El Paso over to South Arizona, like from Phoenix on down in the southwest area. The eastern Arizona is mountains, very cold. So the other place besides Texas that people like to go to is western Arizona in the deserts, where it stays nice and warm all winter long, and also a lot of places in Southern California, from about Death Valley, which is about right there on south. Very nice places to spend the winter there. And then of course Baja, Mexico, also very nice for the winter. And a lot of people go down to a place called Rocky Point right here in the upper part of the Gulf of California. But I don't really want to go down into Mexico by myself. I pretty much would just go along with a caravan of a bunch of other RVs for safety, and also because, you know, I don't speak Spanish. So I like someone else guiding the trip and a lot of the people to be with when I go down to Mexico, either Baja or this area. So like I said, at this point, I have been just about everywhere that you want to be in the winter, spending with RV life. I do want to do one more trip in western Arizona and southern California for a winter. This whole area, including the southern part of Nevada and California. And I've also lined out some places to stay in southeast Texas to spend the winter. Let me show you my list again. Now when I plan my winter trips, I also coordinate that with where I'm planning to go for my summer trips. So if I'm planning a summer trip in the eastern states, I don't want to be starting out in California. And if I'm going to do a summer trip on the west coast, I don't want to be starting out in Florida. So my plans for the future is next summer to do the Great Lakes and going all the way up to Newfoundland and Labrador. And after that, I will be coming back to Texas, my home base, and from there going to my western trip like I showed you. And then for my next summer trip, I'm thinking about going all the way from south to north California, and including going up the western coast of Canada, and then doing a second trip to Alaska for the summer. Then after that, that might be the end of my big winter trips. I may just hang around southeast Texas for the winter, and then spend the other 9 months doing my summer trips. Now, if something changes, I may be switching these two from one year to the next, but I think after this winter, 22-23, I'm pretty much going to be done doing a lot of big trips in the winter and just settling down to a warm place to get through the winter, and then plan a big summer trip, including the spring, summer, and fall. So from then on, I might just be hibernating in the southeast Texas area or way down here in South Texas, and just pretty much spending my winters in Texas from now on. I don't care much about going back to Florida. I've seen everything that's there. Not much point to going back to Florida. And the west is okay, but it's a long way getting all the way across there. I might do another winter trip if I get tired of hanging around Texas. In the 9 months outside of the winter, there are just so many places to go in the 48 states here, and a lot of Canada as well, and up to Alaska. But in the winter, you're pretty much limited to the south coast and maybe down into Mexico a bit to avoid freezing, avoid the snow and bad road conditions. I've been just about everywhere except the East Coast, from about North Carolina up, and this next summer I want to see the northeast of Canada and Niagara Falls and that kind of thing. Along the Great Lakes is also very nice for the summer. Now, I have really enjoyed my winter trips, but I don't like to do too much repeat areas that I've been to. And really, 8 or 9 months of traveling a year really should be enough. And in the comments below, please let us know what places that you think are good to go in the winter and also the summer. So I hope this video has been some good use to you. Please let me know. Good day, folks.